But it's one of those things where the Wings yesterday with that win, I will say, I know people were on one. Even D-Mac got caught in the emotion yesterday with Larks getting the 2 goals.
But I've been consistent. What have I said the whole time? I've always said I would pay my 2C, who is Dylan Larkin, 8 years, $9 million a year, whatever. I mean, I'm consistent, and even last night I threw a tweet out there, and I think I said, what's that Teddy KGB quote? Pay that man his money. He's feeling it right now, and you know what? Like, a lot of times, too, is I wanted to just touch on this, is when great players, right? Because a lot of times, look at the narrative of who he's had around him, what he's done with guys around him, who's been a guy that's been able to elevate Dylan Larkin's play. Well, you see when he goes to the All-Star game around peers that can elevate his game, confidence that he's got, and watching him play and taking this team sort of on his back, that's what we're feeling right now. So that's what you want. That's a guy that and think about this. Isn't this the guy you want leading your team that in the toughest times? So this is the biggest money moment of his career defining contract, right? Can we agree with that? This is the contract's going to make his money. So financially, the pressure's been on him. The pressure's been on him because he's the hometown kid and not taking the hometown discount and sticking to his guns and stuff like this. So what's the only way you can go out and do it is by your play, right? And to me right now, and yes, Neil, I will give you the caveat of, I wish I could play Vancouver every game, right? It's the NHL. Right, there's a fact that you tuned in yesterday, and I tuned in yesterday.
You got
because
me.
It could have been 5. This game could have been 5-1 the other way. The expectations, but what I'm saying is this different? Why it's different? And here's the roller coaster ride. And yes, we're on the uptrend. I don't know if we'll keep ascending, but you've won 3 in a row, and you've started your West Coast 5-game trip, right? What ends in Washington with the win. Now, I'll give you the big test is going into Edmonton, who just lost when is it, tomorrow, going into Edmonton to beat them because you saw what they did to you. They're coming off a loss going in. But if you're riding this heater with what you're building, and it's not just Dylan Larkin, but he is the mainstay where the spotlight should be on because, he's proven it. So that's just me. Obviously, I don't write the checks. I just thought I was feeling it in the middle of watching, and it's not just because he's putting the puck in the net. Yes, for all you stats guys, we're gonna do it. Can I bring up this interesting? I told you this earlier.
Yes.
Which is interesting. I give it to Big Mike Gentry, which, by the way, stay tuned. Chomp and Puck. Mike Gentry, our Woodward Sports beat writer, and I are gonna start a weekly hockey show, talking specifically hockey, but he brought this stat to me, right? Because we're sort of we agree everybody's down on Tyler Bertuzzi. If Tyler Bertuzzi's stock, it's not quite crypto, but it's gone down compared to where it's been in the past. Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
Right?
It's got some Dogecoin qualities to it.
So Tyler Bertuzzi had 21 games, and then you look at the stats, 2 goals, 6 assists, -9. No bueno, right? No bueno. But I want to give you this stat and see if this means anything to you. In those 21 games that he's played, Dylan Larkin's stats, right? 10 goals, 18 assists, 28 points, +6, right? And we can, other than a few games here and there, mix it up because we usually are used to Larkin and Bertuzzi together, right? So is there something there? And then I lean down and I go, you know what the biggest thing yesterday too, Neil, was? Did you see Michael Rasmussen with the A? Do you know why that was? You haven't seen Michael Rasmussen wear the A before? He went home. That was his home. You saw, if you watch Valley Sports, his father Paul was interviewed. He had 100 people in the stands. It was a homecoming. You know what that is? That is great. That tells you so much about inside the locker room, because that shows you, hey kid, we see your hard work. You're part of this future, right? You are a leader on this team, even one of the young guns, the next level, sort of like the grind line guys to the Yzerman guys back in the day, right? But that is such a huge pop, and you look, he goes out and has a couple assists and has been really, really effective. So a couple things that I noticed last night. Also, the major thing, Neil, when it comes back to you, when Ville Husso is on, he's great. But he doesn't have that middle gear of being, when he's not on, he's off. Right? And I say that opposed to the best goalies in the league, Tampa Bay's Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, and the Rangers. When those guys are off, they're still good enough for your team to win. So those are the three things. I thought everything was rolling, moving forward. Now, again...
And D-Mac, you know what? I want to stop you right there, too, with the Husso thing. Because and this kind of popped in my head when you were saying it, because we talked about it before the show a little bit. And everyone's going to say, well, Husso's that's your boy, Neil, like that's your guy. And make no mistake, I never propagated.
I loved your analogy before the show.
Yeah, I never propagated that he was a Vezina guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, Vasilevsky's, those guys, when they're bad, you still got a shot to win.
Well, use your cracker analogy. Because you know what, and that's sort of what you get, everything, right?
Because and look, I know that very quickly. I am a big Husso guy, and he kind of represents what this hockey team is this year based on what they were last season and the season before that, right? It's representative. It's NHL level. It's like a professional thing, as opposed to when Nedeljkovic played, you had no shot whatsoever. So that was the difference for me. And D-Mac was like, well, he's not he's not a Vasilevsky, which, that's no, of course he's not. And D-Mac wasn't saying that he was. He was just kind of explaining the difference in the levels. And I was like, man, D-Mac, you got full real quick. Like, we were starving for the last 6 years and gave you some saltines, and now you're eating those, and now you're above a saltine, even though it's all we have in the kitchen. Now you're above a saltine. Now you want a townhouse with some prosciutto and some cheese and stuff like that.
Where's the brie?
Where's the pepperoni? You even want that fancy blueberry cheese. Like, you got full real quick, D-Mac.
Yeah, they just the reality of where you've been and where you're at. And obviously, and here's the one thing too, right? This is really like Ville Husso. When I mentioned it yesterday, talking about we got a young team and these guys need to get the reps. The full season. They haven't played a lot of games. Ville Husso's right along there, and I think that earlier in the season we saw him get a little bit tired. So it'll be interesting how Derek Lalonde uses him down the stretch, but he is your guy. Not saying that he can't take it to another level, because in order to win games and be great and make those saves and be effective, you got to get there in the first place. It's just the same as and to the epitome. You know what? You're right, Neil. And it just crossed my mind. It's his consistency is like the team's inconsistency, right? They almost go back to back. But he's got the old adage, and it's where it starts out, where Derek Lalonde said, starts keeping the puck out of your net. That's really where it comes down to. I know we're talking about contracts and Larkin and all this money and stuff, but really at the end of the day, Ville Husso, when he's good, and really good, this team wins.
Yeah, and that's the old adage, right? We all love the goals get you paid, the goals get you the money and everything like that, but keeping the puck out of the net's what wins you those.
You like rings?
How often do you wear them? You ever wear them?
Nah, maybe once you do charity
events. Yeah, charity events and stuff like that.
But you know what? Like, honestly though, and you cherish them, but they're gaudy. I mean, they're bigger than your knuckle. It's uncomfortable. They're so blinged out. Like, it's almost like you wish that you had those for display, and then you had one like your wedding ring or something like that you could just wear it around when you wanted, like all 4 into 1. And maybe I'm gonna get that made. Maybe I should get a little one, all 4 into 1. That would be pretty
pretty dope.
I'm more apt to get a tattoo.
E. Schaffer, WoodwardSports.com chat thread says, thank you for talking hockey first today. Well, you know what? They deserve it. Like, every time I've given up on them, they bounce back. They pull you back in.
But you know what, Neil, and you know how.
But that's the difference.
You know how
with
we
last
had the
year.
Clock, right?
Yeah.
And we nailed it with the clock. I think we nailed it with the clock.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, as far as to bring it down. Well, it's the same thing with the ebbs and flows. We're at the beginning of the season where I said, hopefully last week of the season, you win 2 games, you're in the playoffs. You're in that sort of scenario in this Batman hockey, right, where everything's so close. That's exactly what we're in the middle of, right? We're in the middle of all this time. We're into February now, right? Remember last year, we started out so well, but absolutely January came and we got to this point of the season and it's like, how are the Griffins doing? How's Toledo? Everyone going to go to the Walleye game there? Flannel, let's go down Toledo. It's not that way, right? You can be a bit. So it's just about having patience and watching the journey, and I can't amplify it enough. Trusting the man, right, with the plan. That's the bottom line. It's hashtag Wiser Plan 1919 all day, every day.
But yeah, they deserve to be talked about because they are on the fringe of the playoff mix. You can say that they're alive. I think they're definitely
so
alive.
Yeah, they got games in hand. They got this road trip. Like that's where if you want to break it down, and I know that I said okay, we're gonna sit back and we're gonna wait till the trade deadline, which is the beginning of March. But right now, if you want to do a bigger one, let's just see how they do on this road trip. If they come out 3-1-1 or 4-1, you are in the mix because you're picking up these games.
Yeah, you
I mean,
are.
They're like Neil. They're honestly. 2 weeks ago, I didn't think they'd be in this position. I thought it was on the tailspin, but this plane just won't crash.
OVA. I thought it was.
Which
I thought it
is
was
going to
OVA.
benefit them down the road.